If you want more mysteries and more life experience and of course more wit and charm from Our Lady detectives in Botswana, then today's book just might be for you. Today I'll be reviewing The Double Comfort Safari Club by Alexander McCall Smith. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're taking a look at yet another book in the series that I have had such great things to say about, and this is no different. I love these books. I will acknowledge from book to book, it can be a little hard to say which ones I think are best. I think usually in a series, it's pretty easy to pick out which ones you like the most. I think the overall quality of these books is quite consistent from one book to the next. And that's not to say there's not the occasional thing I don't dislike about one of the books, but I'd certainly say that I really enjoy these books. And my main reason for making these videos in particular is really to give a quick synopsis, because again, I've said this before, and I'll say it in every one of the remaining videos that I have, all 14 or so. This is, I believe, the 10th book in this series, and so I have, a great deal left, and going to be the same things about. I really love the characters. I love that there are mysteries, and there is certainly something they're trying to figure out, but the approach is distinct, and you are much more interested in the quality of the characters, of the people that are solving the crimes, and their relationships with each other. And so, with that, let's take a quick look at the synopsis of this one. In The Double Comfort Safari Club, which by the way was published in 2010, it of course continues the journey of our endearing detectives, Precious, Ramotswe, and of course her secretary, Grace. And as usual, it is going to take place in Gaborone, Botswana. They don't go very far out of Gaborone in my experience. There may be some references to going to South Africa or to other places, but these are almost entirely going to take place in not just in Botswana, but in Gaborone. This specific book, as usual, we have Precious and her very sharp-witted assistant, Grace Makutsi. They're going to set off for the stunning Okavango Delta on a mission to help a former Safari Lodge guest. And as they are trying to navigate this task, Precious is going to be reminded of the unmatched beauty of her homeland, which she believes to be a true paradise, just brimming with wildlife, and of course this expansive grassland and the glittering waters and just all the different things that she sees. But she also says, don't be fooled. The Okavango Delta is not without its challenges. There are, of course, going to be rival safari operators. There's going to be the animals themselves, some massive and terrifying crocodiles and some grumpy hippos, all of which are going to give you some scenes of suspense. And all of that is going to make this one of the more exciting novels in terms of dealing with wildlife. That is always an element in these books. There's certainly frequent discussions of snakes. That seems to be one type of wildlife that they do have a somewhat regular encounter with. Other scare animals that you might associate with Africa, lions and stuff, there are some references to them, but they obviously do not live in a place that is a primary concern of theirs. And so this is one of those examples where they're actually going out into a place that does have these dangerous animals. And so in a way, feeding into what some people might stereotypically think of Africa. But I'd say coming in at like the 10th or 11th book or whatever book this is in the series, I think that they've done a pretty good job at not making that too much of this series. And so I think I actually found it a bit refreshing to take this moment to go out into the safari for this one book. Of course, that's not the only thing going on. You always have all sorts of other things to consider. Grace, in her own personal life, is going to face some complications, even though she is, of course, engaged to Puti Radaputi. They do not have a wedding date set. That was a problem that Precious had as well. And then things are going to be delayed. There's going to be a very severe accident in which Puti is actually going to need significant recovery from. And Grace is an incredibly kind person and wants to help Puti as much as she can. And she's going to discover, though, that Puti has an aunt that is making things very difficult and is trying to take over taking care of Puti and helping him recover, which is incredibly frustrating to Grace. And then it becomes obvious that she is even specifically trying to push Grace out. And you discover the reason why is that Puti is a very good nephew and has done a good job at taking care of his aunt, and she wants him to continue taking care of her. And so it is now this moment where he has to be a bit assertive and make sure that his aunt understands that he still loves her, he still wants to take care of her, but it is also imperative that she makes room for Grace in their lives. My goodness, just like any of these, I love the storyline. I love the interaction. I love the what I think to be very honest and real discussions of challenges that people face, not just as they're trying to solve these crimes, but of course their engagement with each other. And I think particularly the reality of struggles of finding people to date and of course someone to marry and to make a life with. I think these are, you know, some of my favorite parts of these books. That being said, let me give you just a few of my favorite quotes from this particular book. Again, as I get deeper into the series and I make more videos like this, I really want to highlight the quotes that I most appreciated. Let's take a look at some of the humorous quotes. This one's a bit long, but I think it characterizes the book well because it just gives you an idea of the thought process of Precious and how on the one hand she is very kind and on the other hand there's just these very humorous, witty moments. And so she says, she was of traditional build herself, but her figure was largely concealed by the folds of a generously cut shift dress made of a flecked green fabric. It was like a tent, thought Precious, a camouflage tent of the sort that the Botswana Defense Force might use. But I do not sit in judgment on the dresses of others, she told herself, and a tent was a practical enough garment, if that is what one felt comfortable in. Of course, her being a traditionally built woman herself, this is something that she can be a bit sensitive about, but I think also a fairly open-minded individual as well, and I think that's a great example of it. Another one that made me laugh was, yes, wisdom, that was something that came to everybody, although it came in varying quantities and at different times. Another impactful description of something is when he says, it was not really like a person moving, thought Precious. It was more a geological movement, which is again referencing the size of that character. And then there is at least one great little moment of irony in which she shouts, you do not change people by shouting at them. So I think that is a fair moment of observation. And then there are, of course, the quotes that I love that aren't necessarily humorous. I think that they're really stuff to think about for a moment, although there could still be some humor in it, such as this one where it says, that was the way the world was. It was composed of a few almost perfect people, which are ourselves. Then there were a good many people who generally did their best, but were not all that perfect. Those, of course, would be our friends and colleagues. And finally, there were a rather few nasty ones, which are our enemies and opponents. I think that is one succinct and possibly simplistic way of viewing the world. But I think there certainly are people that would be their approach. I think Precious is just full of those, you know, moments of great advice. Or when she says, I think that the measure of whether a life has been a good one is how much love there has been in that life. Love both given and received. Or at another time, she, of course, gives this insightful recognition of the impact of rudeness when she says, never be put off by rudeness, she whispered. It is the rude person who is rude, not you. And then I thought this one was just such a powerful way of considering life and measuring our challenges and the impact of them. And she says, yes, she agreed, there are times when I am unhappy and times when I am happy. There are more happy times than unhappy ones, I think. I think that mentality can go a long way, personally. I think that's something we should all consider as we regard the challenges of life, that certainly there are unhappy times and there are happy times. And whether we remember that there's more happy times or not can really impact just how much we get out of life. So who would I say this book is for? Again, long in a series. I'd say it's for people that have read all the books that come before this. I think that's pretty necessary to really enjoy them. But again, I really recommend anyone that just wants a good long series like this to go ahead and get started. And if you've caught up to me, then please let me know in the comment what you think about this book in particular. Who is this book not for? Again, for anyone that does not want to read such a big series, I also would not read this as a standalone book. And above all, I would say that although it is a detective book, if you are not going to be interested in the lives of the detectives and the people around them, and especially interested in the good-hearted nature of the main people, I don't think this book is going to be for you. If you're looking for more of a neo-noir that is just going to have this well-done dialogue that just shows everyone being essentially terrible people, that is not here. There's certainly going to be crimes, there are going to be serious subjects, but you are also going to generally have good people at the heart of this book, and that is who this book is for. Of course, let me know if you have a difference of opinion. Please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.